Welcome into episode 41 of Gimme the Hot Sauce. It is the Dirk Nowitzki episode, among other great 41s in the world of sports. We've got Tom Seaver, who pitched for the White Sox late in his career, a 300-game winner. Wes Unseld, of course, the only player to be most valuable player and rookie of the year. And an old-timer, a former Milwaukee Brave great, Eddie Matthews. We're doing the show a little bit differently today. We are not coming at you from the Hustle and Flow studios. We've got no Sriracha Green Room, but we do have beauty of California, Hermosa Beach. Stinger, Southside Susie, tell us about what you're doing this week.
Well, we're out here. We're doing some softball like we talked about. PGF, we had week 1 last week. Big week, 5. I can't remember how many games. 6 games last week. National championships were decided, 18U, 16U. The Oklahoma coach was there, Stacey, and she was loving this girl that was pitching for Nebraska Gold, who had 20 strikeouts, and she's going to OU. And the coach was all smiles, and I took a couple shots of her. And so now we decided that we're back in Hermosa, a little reprieve in between the grind of the softball. We're at a friend's house down steps from the beach in the nearest bar, which we'll be taking in a little bit later. We're going to go see our boy Troll. We're going to get Troll set up on some podcasting and some lifting, but it's been all good. Thank you for, making this happen this week, because it's a big week for Stacey King and the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, originally we were thinking about taking the week off, but there's just too much going on. And so many of our followers on social media are asking Stacey and me, hey, when's the podcast coming on? Stacey, this could be the week that everything changes for the Chicago Bulls.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you what, man. They've been active in the free agent market, and they got the guys that they wanted. They addressed the point guard issue with Lonzo Ball. That was something they've been trying to do since the trade deadline last season. Wasn't able to do it, but give AK and Mark credit. They stayed with it. Was able to pull that off, and able to get DeMar DeRozan, a former All-Star from Toronto, who averaged 20 points a game last year in San Antonio. It addresses another issue, wing issue. The moves that they make, they go from a team, last year's roster, 8 seed, scratching at the 8 seed, to now they're in the middle of the pack. They could be anywhere from 4 to 5 to 6. A much better position, Mark, going into this season than they were last season.
You know, it's been amazing, and I know Bulls fans have been reacting to this. It's almost like we've been used to seeing our front office playing checkers, and AK and Mark Eversley are playing high-level advanced chess, grandmaster style. Also want to give credit to JJ Polk, their capologist guy. They're working trades, signing trades, taking advantage of exceptions, and they're going nuts, and they still may have 1 or 2 moves before they're done. But talk about, Stacey, the fact that, it used to be that the Bulls were trying to create cap space and make their draft picks and hoping for good luck. Hey, now they're not waiting around anymore. They're trying to make things happen, and bringing in DeRozan, bringing in Alex Caruso to play some defense, and still having some exceptions left. They're going to have a really nice squad on the court next year.
Well, and think about this too, Mark. They made all these moves and didn't have to give up Patrick Williams, Kobe White, or Lauri Markkanen yet. Okay, so that's pretty strong right there, being able to make those moves and to be able to keep your assets of your younger players. And, does it change the dynamic of those guys who might have been starters last year? Now they may be coming off the bench. Yeah, it does. Right now, you put the Bulls starting 5. If they ran out here tonight, Lonzo at the point, Zach at the 2, DeRozan as the small forward, P. Williams at the 4, and Vooch at the 5. There's not too many teams in the Eastern Conference better than those starting 5.
Yeah, I think it's really impressive what they're putting together, especially on the offensive side of the ball. DeMar DeRozan, the casual fan might think, well, yeah, he was good in Toronto and he's getting older. Well, he's going to turn 32, I believe, in a couple of days. He still is an elite player. He averaged 21 points a game, a career high 6.9 assists. Popovich used him last year as a facilitator from that 3 spot. Stacey, they even used him at times at power forward. So he's going to give Billy Donovan a lot of versatility in how he can construct lineups.
Well, they're going to be able to attack you from every angle on the floor. Every position, you're going to have a guy that can put the ball on the floor, drive, kick, create, or get to the basket. The one thing about DeRozan, now he's not a 3-point shooter. Okay, we all know that. But he is one of the best mid-range games in the NBA, kind of similar to Kawhi Leonard. He gets to the free throw line a lot. And what I saw in San Antonio, the way Pop used him, was very similar to how Billy used Zach, putting him in the pick and roll, putting him in situations where he's coming off the screen, looking to turn the corner, attack, or facilitate. So now you throw him on one side, Zach on the other. I mean, you can run pick and rolls all day, and the guys who will be happy about that will be Patrick Williams and Vooch, because they will have now two guys that you're going to have to account for offensively. You're not just going to be able to say, well, let's just drop off and make DeRozan shoot, or let's drop off and let Zach shoot. You're going to constantly have to play honest basketball. And if you switch on either one of those guys, the ability to get to the basket and break you down off the bounce is there. I mean, these are two all-star wings that the Bulls have. And then you throw in a point guard first, pass second type of point guard that knows how to play and fit into the flow of what the team is doing in Lonzo Ball. I mean, this is a kid who, if anything, their transition game is going to be probably the best we've seen since, Derrick Rose was here, because they've got the players now that can get out and fill wings. DeRozan will fill a wing. I mean, there should be lob city all over the place. I mean, with the way Ball handles the ball in transition, he wants to play fast. He wants to get in transition and make the highlight passes. And what better way to make those highlight passes to two highlighted players?
One of the areas that AK wanted to improve was free throw attempts per game. They ranked near the bottom of the league in getting to the free throw line. And DeRozan was top 10 in that category. I think he had averaged something like 7.5 free throws per game. Kind of, I don't say he's the same kind of player as Jimmy Butler, but he's got that mid-range game. He gets to the free throw line. He's going to do some of the things that JB did when he was here. He's not the same defender, obviously, that Butler was. But I think that fans who haven't seen a lot of DeRozan since he played in the Western Conference the last few years, he's going to remind a lot of people of Jimmy with that mid-range game and his ability to get to the free throw line.
Well, I mean, his mid-range game is arguably one of the best in the NBA. I mean, he can score, he can post up, and I think a lot of people don't understand. He not only does he have a mid-range game, he can go inside into the post and post you up and score and score efficiently in the post. So he's bringing a lot to the table that I think Bulls fans might have forgotten because he's in the Western Conference now. But then when he was in Toronto, I mean, he gave us matchup nightmares every time we played Toronto, and his ability to not only, make the mid-range shot mark, but to get to the foul line. And you get to the foul line 7 times a game. Those are late game situations where the Bulls struggled at last year. When the game was, a 3 to 5 point game, and, the Bulls might have relied more on 3-point shooting instead of getting the ball to the basket and getting to the foul line late game situation. Now you got a guy like DeRozan, like Lonzo Ball, that can go inside and use their size. You got to remember, Lonzo's 6'6". He's not a small point guard. So he's going to help you in the area of rebounding, facilitating, and then being able to run him into the post and basically go right inside and score along with DeRozan.
You mentioned to the point about DeRozan, since the 18-19 season, he ranks 3rd in isolation scoring efficiency. Only Steph Curry and James Harden rank ahead of him, Durant and Zion behind him. So it could be a perfect fit. But I just want to ask Stacey real quick, is there going to be a concern about getting some stops here?
You know what? I'm sure, people are looking at this team and going, wow, they're going to outscore a lot of people. There has to be some concerns defensively. But again, how many teams actually are defensive stoppers? I've said this, and I've had this conversation on Twitter. It's like the great teams in this league consistently play defense on a nightly basis, and it shows when they're in the playoffs. When you get to that elite 6 to 8 teams, those are normally your best defensive teams in the league. Now, scoring is another thing. Miami's a great defensive team, but sometimes they have a hard time scoring. The Bulls are going to have to be better team defensively, because you already got – if you start that starting 5 I named out with Lonzo, Zach, DeRozan, and Patrick Williams and Vooch. Of those 5 guys, we know 2 of them are very good defensive players. That's Lonzo Ball and Patrick Williams. You're the top of the circle with your point guard is good, and your power forward in Patrick Williams, who can guard pretty much anybody on the floor and switches or anything like that. Now, what we've seen out of Zach in the Olympics, which I am so glad to see, Zach is forced, if he wants to be on the floor, because they already know he can score. if Zach wants to get playing time and get meaningful minutes going into these Olympic games, he was going to have to show other things than scoring. He was going to have to get out there and play defense, pick up full court, use his athleticism, which he has done. So if you're Billy Donovan, you've got to be encouraged what you've seen out of Zach LaVine as far as how he's fit into Team USA, how he's come out and really bought in defensively to try to get stops, picking up full court, turning guys, getting steals in the passing lane. Because, Mark, if Vooch and Zach LaVine up their game defensively, the Bulls are no telling how far they can go. I mean, really, because Vooch is not a bad defensive player. I think with Vooch is that he's always, since he went to Orlando, it's always been he had to score for them to win. I think he can play defense. I think he can block shots. I know he's a great rebounder. Rebound is another phase of defense. So he does that very well. So I think he's going to have to work on his position defense. They're going to have to get away from the switching with him when it comes to him having to guard smaller guys, because you've got 4 guys out on the floor that you can switch anybody with. He's the one guy, like we talked about Brook Lopez in the Milwaukee series. He's the one guy you can't switch on anybody. He's got to play straight up.
I tell you what, though, going back to the whole maneuvering by AK in the front office, Bulls have come a long way since the days in 2010 when they sent Chuck Swirsky to Chris Bosh to try to recruit him to come to the Bulls.
On, man.
It's been pretty amazing seeing some of the things they've done. Did you guys catch? No. But did you catch that story about how the LA Clippers, they put their front office in a luxury automobile, and they were driving to DeMar DeRozan's house, and DeRozan's agent calls him up and said, you know what, forget about it. I'm going to do you a favor. He's going to the Bulls, so you can cancel that meeting. It's nice to see the shoe on somebody else's foot for a change.
Wow. Well, because, word was he wanted to play in LA. And whether it would be the Lakers or the Clippers, that was his preferred destination. And but that just goes to show you persistence, and the Bulls are doing something that players are taking notice now. They looked at that trade with Vucevic. Everybody likes Zach. All the players in the league love Zach. So they're looking at what AK and Mark did last year with Vooch and trying to bring in Daniel Tice and trying to Troy Brown Jr. and Devontae Green. They shook it up, in midseason. And I think players now are saying, hey, man, this is a whole new front office. It's a whole different Bulls team. And now seeing what they have now, the rosters that they have, how many times have you heard, Kevin Durant speak so highly of Zach LaVine in this Olympics? Damon Lillard, all these guys. These are recruiting ploys, man. These are, if a guy like Kevin Durant is shouting you out, and you're a superstar player on another team, and he's saying, hey, really nice, glowing things about you, that means somewhere down the line at some point, maybe he says, hey, I could play with this guy. I might want to play with this guy one time. Because how do you think he got to Brooklyn? He saw how Brooklyn played. They played team basketball. They didn't have any superstars. They played hard every night, and he was won over by that compared to going to the New York Knicks, playing in a situation where they didn't play as hard as Brooklyn did. And both him and Kyrie decided to go to Brooklyn, because it sold the program.
We are recording this episode late Thursday afternoon, and one story that's just come across is that the Charlotte Hornets may make a strong play for Lauri Markkanen with a restricted free agent offer sheet. They've got somewhere between $13 and $20 million in cap space, Stacey, and they may try to make a run at Lauri and try to sign him outright. I know that you've been advocating on social media the Bulls should try to find a way to keep him. But I think after he got benched last year, taken out of the starting lineup, I think Lowry's looking for a fresh start somewhere else. Do you think that can be repaired, or is he better off going to another team?
Well, I look at Lauri as being, he's a guy that is highly skilled. Okay. He can't stay healthy. That's been an issue since he's been in the league. And I think that's what scared a lot of teams off, because there's no way in the world a kid that talented and that size, and with the league that is really is about shooting, that he doesn't get a big offer. But I think him being injured and then him probably wanting more money than what teams are willing to pay, I think he kind of priced himself out, So I would love to see him stay here because, as you know, Mark, the more talent you have, the better chance you have to win. And if he was coming off the bench in a Tony Kukoc role as a sixth man, playing starters minutes, that would be awesome for the Bulls. Because, I mean, you would be possibly bringing 2 or 3 starters off your bench playing against the other team's second unit. I mean, picture that for a second. You know, if Kobe White comes off the bench, he was a starter. He's going to be playing against second team guys. Lauri would be playing against second team guys. You know, so having those guys in that role, and just watching what Milwaukee and Phoenix was able to do, the more talent you have on your team, the better chance you have to win a championship if you can afford them.
And AK also addressed the defensive issues with some of the guys he brought in off the bench, as you mentioned. Alex Caruso, who ranks in some of the defensive metrics as one of the best on-ball defenders in the NBA, and LeBron loved Alex Caruso. I mean, he was really sad to see him go. He is going to be a defensive pest. He's going to pressure the ball 94 feet. And another underrated signing, they bring in 6'10" Tony Bradley as a free agent at the minimum salary. This is a kid who's athletic. He can block shots, and he can really solidify that second-team defensive unit.
Well, I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, you know, AK and Mark did their homework. You know, they were able to get the guys that they felt they needed. They addressed issues. I mean, look at the draft. I mean, you know, you don't have a number 1 pick. Everybody was complaining about, oh, we gave up a number 1 pick for Vucevic. Okay, realistically, a bird in the hand beats 2 in the bush, as my mom would always tell me. If I know I got an all-star right now in Vooch, and I don't know what I'm gonna have in a draft pick that happened to be 8, I think I'm going to take Vooch every single time because I do know what he brings to the table and what he's capable of. He's a proven player in this league. So that was a great move, I felt, by AK last year to set it up for this year's move. Then you go in the draft and you get Io.
Right.
You know, he was a first-round talent. This is a kid that was, you know, supposed to go anywhere between 15 and the end of the draft in the first round. And then for whatever reason, he slipped out, which surprises me because I'm one of these people. I think the longer kid stays in school, it's unfair. They get penalized, you know. And this kid, you know, is a phenomenal player. He's a phenomenal college player. He's a winner everywhere he's gone. He won at Morgan Park, won state titles. Went to Illinois, they won. You know, he's a big reason why that program turned around. And here he is, slips to the second round with 38. You know, and there's going to be a lot of people regretting that. You know, and he's from Chicago, which you already know he's going to have a chip on his shoulder to come in here and play because he's got the weight of the city on his back because he's a city kid. And so he's going to come in and he's got something to prove. And, you know, you got a big guard who can play either position. He can play point. He can play the 2. He can defend anybody on the floor. So that was another great pickup. So all the moves that AK and Mark have made going back to last year with the hiring of Billy Donovan, and then you just keep going after that. You know, they were stuck with the roster that, you know, Guard Pax had. They didn't have a lot. They didn't have a training camp, basically. They didn't have a summer league to evaluate their young players. They were kind of put under the gun to get the season started in a hurry, and then COVID happened. So it's like they didn't really get to make all the moves they wanted, but they made the moves to set up the moves for this summer. And, man, if you're a Bulls fan, you gotta be extremely happy.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I covered all you at the University, you know, Big Ten Network, did a bunch of games, and he built his frame up too a little bit over the years. And he mentioned transition; he'll fit right in with that team, right? Transitioning, because I think he was way up in the in NCAA and transition baskets.
He's going to be playing a lot in the G League. I'll be seeing a lot of him at the Now Arena this year. Him and Marko Simonovic. They're going to be doing a lot of G League.
You know what, Mark? I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if they don't figure into the rotation. I think they're going to get a good look at him this summer in the summer league, and they're going to see him in training camp and in preseason. I would not be surprised if both those kids at some point figure into the rotation at some point. I mean, Simonovic is got a lot of talent. I mean, he can pretty much do what Lauri is doing the last few years. So he can shoot the ball. He's a tough kid. He wanted to be here. You know, he was probably supposed to stay over there another year or so, but he wanted to be in the NBA. You could just tell he's working out now. I'm a big fan of that kid. I just think that, you know, he's going to figure out ways to get him, because you got to remember, Mark, we just talked about it. Who's going to play defense? You remember we said that earlier. Who's going to be playing defense? So the more people you have on your roster that play those killer positions that can come out there and play defense, Caruso, Io, those guys can get out there and guard, the Damon Lillards of the world. They're going to find a place for that kid to play. I mean, he's going to get minutes.
Hey, Stinger, did you hear when Stacey was talking about Io? He goes, the kid's from Chicago. I think I've heard that phrase before. And one of the things that happened during free agency, everything happened so quickly. Our guest last week on Gimme the Hot Sauce, Casey Johnson, reported that according to his sources, the Bulls made a strong pitch to try to bring Derrick back, but New York had a little bit more money, Stacey, and they were able to keep him.
Well, Tibbs wasn't going to let Derrick go. They went after, they got Fournier in the free agent market. They were kind of quiet the first couple of days. And, I think their main objective was to take care of their own players first. Julius Randle just signed today, I think, or last night. They brought Derrick back. I think they lost Bullock. Bullock lost him in free agency, so they had to address that. But they feel like they got Fournier now. So Fournier kind of takes that role. Fournier in Orlando was a very good three-point shooter, very good two-way player per se. Struggled in the trade to Boston. I thought he lacked confidence last year playing in Boston. Didn't look like the same guy in Orlando. And my question to just by watching him and the pressures that he faced in Boston, boy, he's going to be facing 1,000 times more pressure in New York City, especially after signing that big contract. And Mark, New York City fans are brutal when you don't meet up the expectations, so it'll be interesting to see how he plays in a big city.
Hey, Mark.
I wonder what Derrick thinks now, though, because they made a move to bring Kemba Walker in. Remember Kemba Walker playing those Big East tournaments at Madison Square Garden, hit some game-winning shots, some tournament-winning shots. Kemba's going to be the starter, and I guess DeRozan is kind of accepting of the fact that he's going to be coming off the bench at this point in his career. But, I don't know if they shot him straight on that one, because if Derrick knew Kemba was coming in, you think he would have been that excited about staying in New York?
Well, I mean, I look at it like, look, his role is probably going to be the same, and he was one of the reasons why they made the playoffs last year, so and he got $43 million. So, I mean, he's going to be comfortable no matter what his role is going to be in. So I know personally through people in the inner circle, I know he wanted to come back here. I know he wants to finish his career here at some point. But at the same time, you got to do what's best for you. I mean, the kid averaged, 17, 18 points off the bench last year, could have been sixth man of the year. I still believe on certain teams, on certain nights, he's a starter in this league. I mean, you can't tell me that there are, the upper echelon guards, take those guys away. You can't tell me that there are any guards like a guy like Schroeder, who starts for LA, who priced himself out, who turned down $84 million. And now he's sitting at home wondering, how's he going to recruit that? He's going to probably have to sign to a mid-level extension after turning down $84 million for I think 3 or 4 years. And now he's priced himself out. But, a guy like that who starts, I feel Derrick Rose is a better player than him. And, I think New York values Derrick. I think that's the reason why they brought him back. I think Tibbs values what Derrick does. If you notice, Tibbs is very loyal to his guys. So as long as Tibbs could be coaching when he's 90 years old. And if Joe King can still play, Derrick can still play, Taj can still play, he's bringing them out. Come on out here. I don't care. I don't care if you can only play 10 minutes. Just come on. You're my guys.
Hey, I was telling you, Mark, you don't think the King is excited? The Instagram post, and before
listen, buddy,
taping our show, Adam, his partner for NBC Sports Chicago, we're talking. So I'm sure Bulls fans, they're, as excited as they are. I think these two, Stacey and Adam, are just ready to roll.
Listen, let me just say this, we've seen the good and we've seen the bad. Okay. We've been, we've watched great teams come through here, and we've seen teams that struggle. And so anytime you get a team that is going to be exciting to watch, like this is going to be exciting to watch. I haven't been this excited since we drafted Derrick Rose, to be honest with you. And to see that we got an opportunity every single night to be an exciting team. Think about how many national games you're going to get next year just because of all the guys that we have on our team now. Before, the Bulls were afterthought. You couldn't get the Bulls on any national games unless someone just, unless they got someone canceled or something, or they had COVID. They said, all right, let's put the Bulls on there. but they didn't get any national games. They weren't even in consideration. People weren't talking about the Bulls. They were looking at the Bulls as a laughing stock. And now that's not going to happen anymore. The Bulls have always been, the last few years, we've been waiting for our invitation to come in the mail to come to the party. We never was invited. But see, now, forget the invitation. We walking into the party. We kicking the door down. Surprise, we're here. Party crashers.
Put you on the spot because I know you mentioned it prior to us taping. Where do they finish in the East?
I honestly think they're in the top 5 with the chance to be higher. I do because we don't listen. The one thing that's undetermined is we don't know how COVID is going to affect this season. We saw how it affected last season. Okay, and you better have quality depth. The Bulls didn't have quality depth last year when they got hit with the COVID. This year they got quality depth. So if you miss a Zach LaVine like we did last year for the extended period of time, you still got DeRozan there, you got Ball there, you got Patrick Williams there. You've got other guys to be able to pick up the slack. But last year, if Vooch set out or Zach set out, the Bulls were in trouble.
I hope we're not talking about COVID.
No, I hope you're right. Yeah.
I hope we can get through it.
Yeah. Hey, before we move on to some of the other teams in free agency, if you're watching the show on YouTube, and you really should, because it's a lot of fun just to watch all of us messing around. And our guy, Timmy Whispers, says he's stuck in traffic driving back from Nashville. So he's a no-show for this, and he'll be fine for that. We'll take care of him later. But if you're watching the screen, look at the dutiful wife, Southside Susie, sitting on John's left. And she's thinking, I'm in California.
What the hell's going on over there?
On his left.
Oh,
and she's saying to herself, I'm in California and I'm stuck listening to these guys talk about basketball when I should be out on the beach. How are you enjoying California, Susie?
Oh, I'm having a great time. I'm headed out on a Strand cruiser as soon as we finish this, and headed up north on the Strand. So.
Strand cruiser and a claw.
Cruisers. Yeah, and a White Claw, so I'll be fine.
It's a booze cruise, is what you're saying, right?
my own booze cruise. Don't feel sorry for me.
Hey,
okay.
Did you happen to see that photo I sent you guys last weekend? Did you see what was behind me on the beach?
Oh, that's right. Did you get that
picture?
Stacey?
Yeah.
Stacey, we were talking about volleyball players.
And the uniforms. John and I were Yeah. That was just for you.
Yeah, Stacey's there.
Yeah.
You should come to Hermosa Beach if you like volleyball uniforms.
Hey, I'm there. I'm gonna be a referee next summer. That's how I can get close. I can just start giving out fouls and giving people red cards. I'm doing it all just to stop the place so I can look.
Well, come on out. You're always invited.
Thank you. Can I stay in that multi-million-dollar home right there you guys are staying in?
I bet we could arrange it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because you guys live the life over there.
Although the guy that owns it's from Cleveland, so I don't know. Maybe not. I'm not sure.
Oh no, I doubt that happens.
It looks great. It looks like you got plenty of space there. That's a beautiful spot.
Actually, we should thank Tony.
And Mark looks like Bruce Wayne. He's getting ready to open up that bookcase and slide down a bat pole.
That's right.
To get in the Batmobile.
Alfred's waiting. Yep. No question about it.
That's Timmy coming from Nashville.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh my God.
Obviously, the Bulls are one of the big winners, Stacey. Who else do you like? I think Miami did a nice job bringing in Kyle Lowry. They kept Victor Oladipo. They added some bench depth. I think Miami is going to be in that group, that top 5 group you talked about. And the Lakers did a lot of weird things. They're going to be the oldest team in the history of the league. But I like some of the, they brought in Malik Monk, and they brought in
that's a good pickup
on minimum deals. I mean, that's going to help because they were building this old, slow roster. But then at the end, they got Nunn, they got Monk, and they kept Taylor Norton-Tucker.
Yeah, they got a lot of experience on that team. A lot of experience. I think when it comes down to it, as we saw with them last year, if, because LeBron is, what is this, year 20? What year is this for LeBron?
I think this is 19 for him.
19.
Yeah.
Just like last year, Mark, if that team, if they're healthy, they're the team to beat. If they go through an injury plagued season like they did last year, LeBron missing games, and they just, let's just be honest. I mean, there was no way in the world that team was going to be able to go deep in the playoffs with not being 100%. It's not. But they addressed some issues. They, brought Dwight Howard back, who was a big reason why they won the first time.
Carmelo Anthony.
It's probably 2 or 3 years too late. They should have got him when he was like absolutely free agent when he was sitting at home. But he addresses some issues for them as well, because now you get, if he can accept his role coming off the bench like a Bob McAdoo type of player, where he comes into the game and he's got, he can get you 18, 20 points off the bench. That's a great pickup, because I don't think he's going to start. Then you got, Russell Westbrook, who what he's going to bring to the table, But my thing with Russell is like, how's he going to feel playing, off the ball? Because LeBron is your point guard, basically. And they're going to be fighting for rebounds. Oh, my goodness. It's going to be interesting to see how many triple-doubles he's able to get next year, because he's playing on a team now where guys are not just going to move out the way and let him go get boards. They're all trying to get rebounds, because, rebounds, rebounds get you paid too. So, they're not just going to let him go up there and just say, oh, go get it, little fella, get you a triple-double. There's going to be a lot of guys. Anthony Davis, he's going to want to rebound. LeBron's going to want to rebound. I mean, they're all going to want to rebound. So it'll be interesting to see that whole dynamics of a roster. On paper, they look old, but they have a lot of experience. But I think, honestly, Brooklyn, is the team, I think the team to beat even over Milwaukee. Because if Brooklyn doesn't lose one or two of those guys, Harden and Kyrie Irving, that's a different series. It's a different series. I mean, they were beat when Kyrie was playing, they were crushing Milwaukee.
Yeah, 2-0.
Crushing.
Beat them by 50.
Yes, crushed them. And then in game six on the road, they blew them out. Yeah. And that's, if Harden, now you got to figure Harden is going to come back in the best shape of his career this next season. Because if he doesn't, then that's telling Kevin Durant, like, you're not interested in winning championships. And you might see Kevin Durant, like, pull that little, like, I'm going somewhere else. And then look right down the road and see Chicago building something special there, maybe one player away from getting to a title, and then jump in there and come to Chicago, baby.
Hey, just the Nets prediction, Mark, I'm just going to tell you the Lakers thing, that's not going to end well, as far as I'm concerned. I agree with Stacey that what role does Russell Westbrook have when you have, like you said, LeBron's a pass first guy, and they're going to want – I don't see how that's going to mesh. That's not going to end well in LA.
Nah, I don't. I mean, on paper, just off the names and forget the ages, like 10 years ago, you're like, oh my God, this is a dynasty, but now it's more of an aging team that's going to have to battle through injuries, going to have to battle minutes and restrictions and trying to keep everybody healthy. LeBron's not going to be able to do the Iron Man like he normally does. I mean, LeBron's injury was a fluke injury. That ankle sprain, guy dove into his leg. I think Solomon Hill dove into his leg. That was a freak injury. And had he not gotten that injury, he probably would have finished out strong, and they probably been a number 1 or 2 seed. But the Western Conference next year, you're going to get Jamal Murray back for Denver. That was a huge blow for them last year, losing him. Utah was able to get Mike Conley Jr. back. I think the biggest loss for them, though, is they lost, Derrick Favors. Losing Derrick Favors as a guy coming off the bench, who basically is a starter coming off the bench, rebounds, scores in the paint, gives you toughness. That hurts. So they've lost some steam too. But Phoenix being able to get Chris Paul to come back, I think that helps them. I think Booker in year 2 with Chris Paul is going to take another huge step. And I think they're going to be right there. And the Clippers get Kawhi back, hopefully, because he hasn't signed his deal yet. But we know he's going back there. So, but until then, if he doesn't come back, then the Clippers they're not as good. But if he does come back, they got a chance to be good too in the West.
Yeah, and some of the top contenders made some smaller moves that I think are really going to help them when they get to the playoffs next year. You mentioned Phoenix. Of course, they bring back Chris Paul. They also brought Cameron Payne and Frank Kaminsky back off their bench, but they got Landry Shamet, who's a nice shooter, in a deal. He's going to help them with some offense. And they brought in JaVale McGee, who will give them some size, because that's one of the things that hurt them in the Milwaukee series. They got out physical. You look at Brooklyn, they signed Patty Mills, who was so good for all those San Antonio teams. He's going to help them off their bench. They brought in James Johnson, the former Bull, who'll give them some toughness. And Cameron Thomas, one of the top shooters in the draft, is going to Brooklyn. So, some under the radar things that I think are going to really help some of those top contenders stay at that elite level.
Well, and then, Mark, you got Philadelphia, who may lose Ben Simmons and who doesn't want to be there. They don't want him. He doesn't want to be there. So it's starting to become really ugly. It's starting to become really ugly right now with him in Philadelphia. And then on the flip side of that, every team knows that you're trying to move them. So teams are not going to give you what you want for them because they know you're trying to move them to move Ben Simmons. So, all these, future draft picks and, unprotected, all these, I mean, have you seen some of the demands that are out on the internet that Philadelphia wants for Ben Simmons? Nobody in their right mind is going to give them what they're asking for, especially when the guy doesn't want to be there. You don't want him there.
I heard Stinger mention the name of Andre Drummond. I told you he was worthless. What he signed for the minimum. And Joel Embiid tweeted, he goes, he rents space in his head, because he's dominated him so much in head-to-head matchups. Now he can kill him in practice.
Oh, man. You know what? I mean, listen, a lot of these guys who are star players, this has been a very difficult free agent for some of these guys. They underestimated the market. They underestimated their actual value that what other teams look at them as, and you're starting to see some guys like left off, like they may have to sign, minimums to play in the league next year. Think about a kid like Reggie Jackson, who played really well for the Clippers and got him to the Western Conference Finals. He still is unsigned. A guy like Cameron Payne gets like $60 million, and you're looking at that going, he got $60 million. He just came from China. I've been hooping. I took my team to the finals, and I haven't got an offer yet. I've been a starting point guard his whole career, basically.
Stacey, nobody's paying Cameron Payne $60 million. He got 3 for 19.
Oh, well, whatever it was. I don't know. It's still too much. It's still too much. It's still too much.
The tank commander, yeah.
Yeah, it's still too much.
Before we get out of here, we're going to cut this a little bit short this week because, these John and Susie are out in California. They got to enjoy the sunshine. We got to talk a little bit about what happened to the Cubs last week. All things must go. They got rid of everybody, Stacey. We've been talking about it for the last few weeks. Yeah. I tell you what, I turned on a Cub game over the weekend. They had three or four guys on there I have never even heard of in their starting lineup. That is sad when you get guys who helped you win a World Series and they're all gone now.
Well, and it's so ironic. Every one of those guys are contributing on their new teams.
Yeah,
they've all hit home runs. They've all hit home runs their first at bat. They're making huge impacts defensively. It's really sad because Cubs fans have waited so long to get that elusive World Series, to break the curse, the GOAT, the Bartman curse, all these things. And they get a World Series and they break up that team within years afterwards. This was supposed to be, I kind of liken it to the 85 Bears per se, because, 85 Bears were supposed to win multiple titles as well. And for whatever reason, it didn't happen. Contract negotiations, front office failure to re-sign key members off those teams, whatever it was. And the Cubs are the same way. And now a guy like Theo Epstein looks like a genius walking away, taking
he sure did. His timing was perfect.
Yeah, because I guarantee you, he must have saw the writing on the wall as far as what this team was going to look like in the next few years, and he was like, no, I can't ruin my reputation. I can't ruin my reputation. I'm a builder, baby. If I build it, they will come. But now, if he stayed on, then it'd be like it would be his fault. People would be blaming him. People want to fire him. And, I can see why he's saying I'm just going to moonwalk stage left and get on out of here.
Hey, put on the grill.
He told Jed, he said, this is your big chance now. You can break up the team. Jed gets a big opportunity.
Well, I feel bad for Jim Hoyer because, man, I don't even – that's a tough job to be in, because you think about this, Mark and John, those guys are not aging stars. Those guys are not like 34, 35, 36-year-old guys that you got to get rid of. And, okay, now we got to go younger. These guys are just in their prime. They're like in their prime right now.
Yep.
And, you know, I mean, each one of those guys could be an MVP candidate when they're healthy.
That's
You
right.
know, I mean, Bryant, Rizzo, and Baez. Those guys are all like MVP candidates at some point in the next 5 years. So
I think today my baseball crush Javier went 0 for 5 with the Mets. So
0 for 5, 5 strikeouts.
yeah,
The Golden
We've seen that before.
4.
Yeah.
The Golden.
yeah, but you know
Southside,
what though? Who cares? I'm still a Baez fan.
I want to ask Susie, what do you think about the White Sox getting Craig Kimbrell from the Cubs? Now they've got that best 1-2 punch in the back end of the bullpen with him and Liam Hendricks. Yeah, they fleeced him. I mean, Madrigal's an okay player, but to get, you know, an all-star closer who's got another year left on his contract, the White Sox looking good.
they are. I had my White Sox hat on through the airport, and I get a lot of
Yeah, that's going to be something to see all those ex-Cubs playing in the postseason with other teams. But
it's just weird seeing Rizzo in the Yankees uniform.
Yeah, well, it has been.
It's just been weird. Like Chris Bryant and Baez, they look like they're like a Met, and they look like a Giant. You know, they look like that. But watching Rizzo in a New York Yankees uniform just doesn't look right.
Did you see he broke a record for Yankees? 6 RBIs, franchised Yankees.
in 6 games.
You know, Lou Gehrig, Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, 6 RBIs in his first 6 games.
Yeah, where was that when he was playing for the Cubs?
Oh, Mark, come on.
Well, I will say this about him though. I mean, you know, he didn't want to leave. None of those guys wanted to leave. If they had their way, they would have stayed there their whole career. You know, when you look at Rizzo, man, Rizzo's, I think, isn't he from New Jersey or something? He's up from that area. And so he's basically like, his family can come watch him play now. And, you know, I think it's everybody's childhood dream who's a baseball player that they want to play for the Cubs or the Yankees at one point in their life. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he gets to do it now, and he's like right in his prime right now. So, man, he could be a huge. I mean, they won what? I think they won like 9 games, or they won 9 in a row or something.
Yeah.
And Boston is struggling right now. Boston has lost some.
Yeah, they're making a move.
They got to catch Tampa. Yeah, they got to catch Tampa. But hey, the other story. Did you see the value of NFL franchises went up 14%, but the revenue dropped 20%? And for the 15th straight year in a row, the Cowboys are number 1 at $16.5 billion. But my question to you, King, is they haven't won a Super Bowl since Switzer, your guy, and they were 4-10 in the playoffs since. So I don't know. Jerry Jones admitted that he made the wrong move by getting rid of Jimmy Johnson, but isn't that absurd? The money.
Well, let me just say this about the Cowboys, okay? America, you listening? Cowboys used to be America. They used to be America's team, but not America's team anymore. Okay. The problem with the Cowboys is that, and I like Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones is going to always swing for the fences. But the problem with Jerry Jones is Jerry Jones wants to be the coach, the general manager, the vice president. He wants to control the whole thing. And when you do that, you sometimes you kind of overstep your boundaries as far as talent evaluation, negotiating contracts, who's important, who's not important. So they've run into some problems like that. I mean, they've always had a good defense. Their offense was kind of pedestrian. Even with Dak being healthy, they don't throw the ball enough downfield. They got all these great receivers, but they don't use them. And now you got what's the coach's name that used to coach Green Bay there?
Mike McCarthy.
Like Mike McCarthy's offense is so predictable. Like it's not, it's nothing to go, wow. I mean, it kind of disappoints you because they got all this talent on offense, but they don't score enough points.
Hey, one last thing on football. Justin Fields is already blowing people away with his athletic ability, the way he can sling it. I was out at Bears camp last week, and I'll tell you what, you watch this kid move, he is going to be a future star. It's not a question of when, not if.
Well, I agree with you on that. I called it. I feel like I'm waiting for the first preseason games and getting him some reps with. I hope they let him play with the first team offense, because then you can gauge of how ready he actually is, how fast he's picked things up. When you're putting him out there with the second group and the third tier guys, Those guys are missing assignments. He's going to get sacked. He doesn't have the quality receivers or the running game. Put him out there with that first group, the starters, and let's see what he actually can do against a first-team defense. How much has he progressed from when he came in as a rookie, as far as like the early, when the rookies came in and they went through that stuff? Where's his progression? Is it getting better and better as we go along? And if that's the case, you got to remember too, Mark, there's a lot of people's jobs on the line. I don't think Matt Nagy has the luxury to not play that kid if he's ready to go. I mean, his job's on the line. I think the general manager's job is he's on the hot seat as well. They drafted this kid high. They didn't draft him to sit. And I'm not taking anything away from the Red Rocket. The Red Rocket is a game manager, okay? But this kid is showtime. This kid can throw the ball down the field. I saw the pass he made over the shoulder to the receiver, and I guess they were playing in shorts and pads. And the throw he made, that was a big time throw. That was like a NFL Pro Bowl type quarterback throw. And again, a guy that can move in the pocket and manipulate it with his legs. Man, you see Patrick Mahomes and, Lamar Jackson and, Deshaun Watson, those quarterbacks have proven over the last few years that that's where the NFL's going.
Now, we mentioned that we are breaking format a little bit because we're all doing this from different locations this week. Before we get out of here, we are going to do something on the down low. Stacey, how much in the doghouse is Kobe Kai after the story you told on social media?
Well, let me just say, Mr. Kobe Kai, he did a couple little things the other day that I think he's going through this adolescent stage. Puppies go through that little baby stage, and then they go through like that teenager stage where they grow so fast. I still think that he's still in the baby stage, but really he's in the teenager stage. So the other day we go outside. He did two things. We go outside every morning. It's a routine. They wake up. I give them a hug and a kiss. We walk outside. We go to the bathroom. They play. They do their business. We come back in and we eat. Okay. So we're outside for about 35 minutes. I watched him. He did his business. He peed. He pooped. Everything was great, just like every day. We walk in the house. I'm fixing the food. I'm getting ready to feed him. I walk back over. He's standing there by the door looking at me. Doesn't move. He's still in the same spot than we came in. And then so I walk over and say, all right, Kobe, let's eat. And I'm looking at he peed on the floor. And then he looked at me like, yeah, what do you want me to do? Am I supposed to clean it up? And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, he's potty trained. And the second thing he did, he almost got killed. I almost took him and took him to the Humane Society and said, hey, you guys can take him. So I bring him upstairs. And, trying to get up and down the stairs with laundry is almost impossible when you have puppies because they want to run up and down by your feet. Yeah. And that's the last thing I need to do is take a spill down the steps and break my hip or hurt my knee or something. So I put him in the bedroom. I said, all right, guys, here's the bedroom. They got their little relaxing beds they can sit in there and lay in. I turned on a dog's purpose on TV, so they're watching TV, whatever. I go downstairs. I wasn't downstairs 10 minutes. I come back upstairs. And he's hiding. He's hiding underneath the bed. So I'm like, Kobe, where's Kobe at? I literally stepped and peed. And he pooped on the floor. Oh, no. He pooped and peed on the floor.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah. And Brixton is like, if Brixton could talk, Brixton would be that little brother that brother would tell on him. He did it. Because Brixton's just sitting there like bouncing up and down like he's really telling me it wasn't him. Because he knew somebody was in trouble. He's like, oh man, I'm not going down for this. So Mr. Kobe's hiding up under the bed. Yeah. So needless to say, he almost didn't get to stay here anymore after that.
Brixton is like you, Stacey. He'll drop a dime on people, right?
Yeah. You know what? If I see a crime committed, I'm dropping dime. Okay. So I'm just letting you know, if you do anything illegal around me, John, Susan, I'm telling on you.
You're turning us in.
Wow.
I'm turning you in. There's no doubt about it.
Oh.
What do you say?
Got the shock collar.
You might have to get that shock collar out or something.
Yeah, you know what? I'm trying to neuter. I'm trying to kind of get him away from that and learn how to, don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't have to. I don't want to put the shock collar on him and then have to do a green mile on him and electrocute him, because if he would have had the collar on that day, he would have got the crap shocked. I would have shocked him like 5 times. I would have shocked him. Look at
You'd have
Susan
been
over there. Susan's
moonwalking.
like, Susan's over there talking, oh no, that's so mean. That's so mean. Susan, it's not mean when the dog pees on your pillow. Okay, it's not mean. The pillows are sacred.
King.
He peed on my pillow.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, he might
No,
need
being
a
serious.
set of astronaut diapers, King.
Hey, you know what, John? Your comments are not going unnoticed. Okay. Okay. You know, I'm having a trouble with my little teenage dog right now, and you're over there talking about astronaut diapers. Okay. All right. So you just need to calm down out there.
Full circle.
You know, you need to calm down out there, living large in your little Hermosa Beach
My
estate.
bungalow. This is my bungalow.
Yeah. Hey, Mark. He was trying to do the podcast from sitting up there with a beach view.
I'm gonna
and the wind was
show.
blowing.
Stand by.
Oh,
Stand by. I just want
Oh.
to say a big shout out to Tony Drockton, who owns Hammett Purses. He must sell a lot. This is Burning Man right here, a big event that he goes to
nice.
in the desert. But
Okay.
he must sell a lot of purses, man, because this place is the ultimate pad. As I end the show here,
For those of you listening to the podcast and are not seeing this, John is walking around this rented property he's at, taking a look at his view outside. Beautiful California. Yeah.
King,
pretty
there's
nice,
a
John.
volleyball court right there, buddy.
Way to just rub it into all those hardworking people that have to sit at home and, you know, we're working a 9 to 5, John. That really impresses us over there, buddy. America, this guy here, we're all struggling. Me and Mark are struggling like everybody else. We don't need to see this view. He's rubbing it in.
Drive home safely.
That's right.
He's rubbing it in.
Yeah. Palm trees, and Susie's getting ready to go on that booze cruise. So, you know, Stacey and I'll go back to trying to, you know, roll out some more content. That's all we're doing back here.
Yes.
You guys have a great time in California. Say hi to our buddy Troll for us, all right?
Oh, we will.
Troll, T-roll. See you guys.
Oh, man.
What did I say?
Oh my God.
All right. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your time in California. And Timmy Whispers, we'll find out what his fine's going to be next week. Stacey, you want to bring it to a close?
Yes. Drive home safely. Chicago, beep, beep.